I'm Miko Pawlikowski, and this is HockeyStick. Today, we're hanging out with Matt Carey. Matt is an AI engineer at StackOne, AWS Community Builder, organizer of AI Demo Days, and a member of OpenUK AI Advisory Board. Welcome to this episode, and thank you for flying HockeyStick. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's nice to be here, Miko.
Yeah, I even have the windsurfer hair. I was just saying that to you before. It looks pretty convincing. The backstory adds up.
I need to get a haircut. Yeah, it gets a bit long.
All right, so we're definitely gonna go and spend a lot of time doing AI. So maybe let's start with the windsurfer thing. Tell me about that.
I grew up windsurfing. My dad was like super into it in the north of the UK, so not like your typical windsurfing spot. We used to go in like real muddy lakes and stuff. It was really good fun. Good community around there, especially in North England, around Halifax type of way, like Leeds. I grew up windsurfing, like started racing more seriously when I was like 17. Going to the British Olympic Development Squad. Was racing for the British Olympic Development Team, like training partner for the guy that went to the Olympics in Tokyo. And at some point I was like, oh, I really want to give it my best shot. Only one person goes to the Olympics. So I wasn't going to beat him. So I went to race for my mum's from Malta. So I went to race for the Maltese. Yeah, so I had like a dual windsurfing career, like half of it with the British team, half of it with the Maltese team. And they also did some coaching along the side with a little bit with the Singapore team. And it was really good fun through uni. Didn't spend much of my university time at uni. Spent most of it on a beach in Mallorca. So grades suffered a little bit for that, but it was good fun. Wouldn't change it for anything. Then after I didn't qualify for Tokyo, and so, yeah, it took a bit of time to decide whether I wanted to carry on with it or not. Went back to university, finished my degree, and yeah, a few years later, here we are. So getting a bit mad.
And now you find yourself in front of a keyboard more than a surfboard, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the adjustment was actually pretty hard. Going from being outside all the time to being inside, especially sat down, was pretty rough. Yeah.
What was the driver? How do you go from, okay, surfing is my life to, okay, now computers are my life? That's a big jump.
It was more of a slow progress. So I was weirdly into like networking and stuff when I was a kid. Like I had Raspberry Pis and embedded stuff. So like embedded C, just into messing around, making like local web servers and things. See if I can make, I don't know, little robots do things. When I went to university, I liked doing things with my hands and doing mechanical stuff because I was really into robots. And so I went to study mechanical engineering. It was a little bit broken up by the windsurfing, but I was studying mechanical engineering for 4 years. And by the end of that time, we'd gone through COVID because I had big old breaks to go windsurfing and there was no in-person labs. I wasn't making a car, let's put it that way. I wasn't like doing what I thought mechanical engineering was. And a mate of mine was into software and my brother was also getting into React and things. And I built things with HTML and I'd like set up web servers when I was a kid with Raspberry Pis. And I thought that was pretty cool, got into it a little bit. And then I ended up doing my bachelor's thesis on machine learning for mechatronic systems. But it was all virtual. So we couldn't do it and make a big test rig and train a model to like move a test rig around with motors. So it ended up being like all inside virtual environments. So that was like in Unity. Yeah, so it was a real gradual thing. And I ended up coming out of it with bachelor's, doing a bunch of machine learning. Ended up doing a master's in reinforced concrete, which is a bit weird, but it was quite fun.
Yeah, I think one of the things that it kind of still shocked me is when people say, oh, I had Raspberry Pi as a kid. And then I go and I was like, try to calculate how old you are and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think I was like 13 with a Raspberry Pi 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can work that out. They were just changed from a charity to a for-profit like 2 days ago or something.
Yeah,
like that.
tough times, huh? Everybody needs to make money now.
Yeah. Yes, but interesting. Yeah. Everyone seems to be pretty good on the IPO. They've come out in front. I was looking at it. It's interesting, isn't it? Like I got a bunch of these things. I thought it was a charity and now it's like a company. What are they going to do? Still just keep selling the same thing or sell courses? I don't know.
And in the meantime, ARM is laughing in ARM architecture in the background.
Yeah, they're loving life.
But for me, it was just like, in my head, it's still a new thing. It's been what is it? Like I was just looking it up. It's 12 years since the first release, and in my head it was just like, oh, it was yesterday. Anyway, so one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the podcast was because you're one of the more active people in terms of AI scene in London for meetups, conferences, and stuff like that. So I wanted to chat to you about the AI scene in London. I know you're involved in a bunch of these things, so I'm going to ask you about the AI demo days. I think AI Thinkers and AI Engineer, a sneak peek of that. Tell me, what is it like? For a lot of what we hear is from obviously the Silicon Valley and a couple of other places. What is it like in London?
It's really cool. I think the number of people building awesome stuff is insane. You talk about AI demo days very briefly. That was the idea behind AI demo days, was that a bunch of people I knew were going to San Francisco to start companies, and I wanted to make London more of an interesting place to start a company, but just actually more just to hang out with people who are interested in the same thing. So that is building cool, flashy demos and trying to start a company. It's not exactly what I was doing, but it's like people that I find really interesting to hang around with. So I started this based on the AI Tinkers is like a worldwide meetup group. The London one is super active. It's really cool. It's made by the guy who runs it is a guy called Louis. They also have a YC startup, but they're based in London. And with AI demo day, so AI Tinkers is like you can build a side project, you can create something real cool, but just like anything, like super anything. It can be something that you've whacked out in an hour, or something that you did a research project on at university that now you're like rediscovering again. It doesn't have to be commercial. And I guess when I went to that, I was like, this is sick. I'm here for this, for the vibes, but I want investors more interested in this space as well as us. The engineers are always going to be interested. And that's what like awesome meetups like AI Thinkers do. But I wanted somewhere where investors could come and see what people were building on a regular basis. And so that was my thesis behind AI Demo Days. And it's gone really well. We got the first event. We had a bunch of investors turn up. We had 5 companies pitch their product. And it's like a demo day at the end of an incubator, except we're on no set deadlines. So you'd have 6 weeks to make a project and then come to AI Demo Days. We had Series A, we had seed investment startups, we had pre-seed, we had one Series C. You can have whatever you want. We're even going to have like demos from huge companies as well, showing some of their internal tools. I really just think it's cool to get that connection with people who are building something and people who want to help people build something. And there's this old adage of don't speak technical in front of non-technical people. I think that's absolute bullshit. Everyone can experience a good and enjoy a good demo. And if the demo is overly difficult to understand, it's because you're not actually communicating the value that your product has to the people. Yeah. So I think the demo format is super fun. Want to get more into it? Come along to AI Tinkers if you hear this. That's Louis' meetup. You can see my meetup, AI Demo Days, like demodays.ai. And also you talked about AI engineer. That's Swix, Sean Wang he's in the US. But word on the street is that there's going to be an AI engineer meetup in London also sometime soon. So we'll see how that slots into the London ecosystem. But yeah, more meetups better. No one's competing. Everyone's just trying to show off as cool stuff as possible. We all share speakers anyway.
The AI Thinkers, that's been going for a little while, right? Do you
Yeah,
remember
ages,
how long?
Yeah. Actually, I have no idea. I know the one in Ottawa in Canada is super active at the moment as well. I see a bunch of that coming out. I can't remember the person running that, but it looks super cool.
So for anybody who wants to find out, they just go to meetup.com. Is that how you do it?
I think it's actually AI Tinkers. They have their own domain. And for AI Demo Days, it's demodays.ai. For AI Engineer, it's ai.engineer. Although those meetups haven't started in London, no confirmation that they're going to start, but just word on the street, I think.
This is all grassroots, right? There's no like big corporation sponsoring that, nothing like that.
Yeah, exactly. As with Louis and me, companies, like Louis, it's his own company, give us a little bit of time to run this stuff, but no one's putting money in apart from community.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we just go around asking big companies for some cash and a place to like run the event, and they're normally quite chill with it.
Okay. So when was your first AI demo day?
We did one on the 30th of May. That was the last one. Yeah, we had demos from Louis from AI Tinkers. Actually, he demoed modernizing legacy code bases. So they're doing something super cool with taking Cobalt mainframes. Everyone thinks it's super dull, but most of old banks that all run on Cobol. So they take these Cobol mainframes and they transpile it into Java, and they use a bunch of LLMs to do that. And so demos like this, super sick. And it's nice to get that in front of a wider audience.
That sounds pretty sick. I've been wanting to go to one of this. It's always like the demo part is like the coolest part of the process. It's when you show the value, everybody gets excited, and then you go and do the dull productionizing and all of that. You definitely hit the nail on the head there. What's AI Engineer?
AI Engineer is a brand by Swix. He has a podcast called Latent Spaces, which I think is pretty sick. It's like one of the regular pieces of content in this industry. I'm pretty sure AI Engineer as a job title was his invention as well, or his, like, he encapsulated what an AI engineer is meant to be for a job title. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. So a little plug there. I hope he appreciates that. Clearly part of your focus is on AI, and that's not particularly surprising with the recent developments. I think everybody, including my grandma, is excited about AI at the moment. You're also a AWS Community Builder, right? So you're doing that bit as well. How's that going?
Yeah. So my last job before I started in this startup was in consultancy. And we worked a lot with AWS. So I developed quite a lot of relationships with a lot of people at AWS. They're all super cool, and really, like, having that relationship enables you to build cooler stuff that's more on the fringe. Because when you break something, you can ask them. The Community Builders is like a program to allow people to get closer to AWS product teams. And the whole idea is really you write blog posts and stuff, and then AWS give you some more access. I don't really write that many blog posts. I kind of struggle, but I do come on sometimes on things like this, like you having me, and I do talks. We met at SRE Days, it's your talk series. That's a super cool event. And yeah, so that was fun. I was speaking about open source, wasn't I there?
You
I
are,
had a open source project called Quiver, like a Gen AI question answer project. That was about a year ago. They went to YC this year. The founder took that to YC. That's pretty cool.
So you also seem to be pretty involved in like the startup scene, right? What is it? The Silicon Roundabout in London? Is that still the term?
I don't know, but everyone knows everyone. And I didn't really realize this before, because when I was in consultancy, I was working a lot more with like enterprises, like big airlines. And then I had a few gigs with smaller companies. And that's how I moved into thinking, oh, I might go work at a startup. And then when I started working at this place, I'm like, everyone knows everyone. We do all of our job hiring on referrals. And everyone who I meet, they're like, oh, I know your boss. And I'm like, sick. Like, how? Oh, I worked with him at Google like 3 years ago. Oh, cool. Pretty sick.
Yeah, it's surprisingly small of a world, right? I've worked in finance for the last decade in London. It's the same people all over the place, and
Yeah.
you keep bumping into them. So I guess they also recycle people from one startup to another, right? This one didn't work out.
Yeah, they
Let's
do.
go and recycle them. So that
They
works
do,
out
yeah.
as well.
Also, when a startup does really well and it transitions into a bigger company, then the people who were there initially sometimes feel a bit like spare parts and they also leave, and then they start something else together. So that is like quite a common, yeah, I see that all the time. And there's these like groups of people that wander around. When I was in consultancy, we did a lot with like serverless services on AWS. And you also see that as well. There's the serverless crew that just go from one company to another company. It's interesting. Be
Yeah, I
nice to
think
everyone, because you never know when you'll see them again.
Yeah, that's good advice there, everybody. I hope you heard that. That reminds me, I spoke to Alan Williamson. He's working with private equity, and he does a lot of these things when they acquire a company or get a big stake, and then they have to first assess and then revamp their technology. So he works with a lot of CTOs and as a CTO or like interim CTO and stuff like that. And we had an interesting conversation a few weeks ago about how different it is to be like a CTO, because you're not really a CTO in a startup. There are like 5 people get out of here. You're basically the engineering department initially. And then transforming that into a sustainable profit-making corporation that has like thousands of people is a completely different ballpark and different set of skills and different sets of problems and motivation and stuff like that. So I find it very interesting how many people think I can be a good CTO with 3 people on the team, and then I'm also going to do exactly the same thing when there's like 1,000 people. Right?
Yeah. That's why I actually think consultancy is a really good route for people coming out of university, because they actually teach you to build something in like a variety of situations. Some of the places I worked at, like one of them was a team of 3. That was like the whole engineering department. And
Yeah.
then we also worked with a massive airline where there were like thousands of developers and people are doing board presentations and stuff. And this is wild. And like the comparison is huge. And so being flexible and knowing what to build in what situation is also really cool. Consultancy is a great outlay from people like coming out of university.
I think a lot of people agree with that. It's like a good rite of passage, yeah, for a lot of people. What
That's
about the
awesome.
AI Advisory Board? That sounds serious. OpenUK
Yeah.
AI Advisory Board. Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
It does sound serious, doesn't it? OpenUK reached out to me. They're like a non-profit organization that advocate for open source technology in the UK. If you ask most people on the street why most companies give away 50% of their technology for free on the internet, most large companies anyway, they would probably say that was crazy. Like, why does Meta give away their best language models to the public? Like, it's actually nuts. It's not a great example because it's not fully open source, but open weights. Or React, for instance, like, why did they give that away? And why do they support it? It makes very little sense to people when you're talking about it. And I guess because of that, there really needs to be a group that advocates for that at the highest level of government. And that's what Open
Mhm.
UK is. They've been going for a fair few years now. They have a bunch of insane advisors that help them on technical stuff. And somehow I'm in that mix. It's all about influencing government policy to help startups and enterprise actually do what they want to do. A lot of people in government don't know how the tech scene works at all, from how startups create IP to how big companies protect their IP. The open source runs all the way through that. And when you just say to someone, I'm going to build something and I'm going to spend thousands of engineering hours to build something, I'm going to give it away for free, they act like you're crazy. And so advocating for that process and understanding why that's necessary is really important. Yeah.
So how does it actually look like in practice? You go knock 10 down the street, then you say, hey, I've got a presentation here. I would
Mhm.
like to influence your policy, please. And they say, oh, this way.
Yeah, it's actually way more similar to that than you think it maybe is. Yeah, so I was in the Department of Science Information Technology, the SIT, a couple of months back. They were chatting with some people from GitHub, some people from Microsoft about how open source is important, how GitHub see open source as being important in the future, and really advocating for a few bits of behavioral change there. My big thing is that I think the UK government should be protecting UK citizens' right to GPUs. And that's like my little bone that I pick with people and I'm trying to push forward slowly. It's all well and good, Bristol University having a supercomputer, but it's not great that startups have to spend money with AWS in the US to get GPUs. Like we should be way more self-sufficient on that from a government policy point of view.
Yeah, I can see a solid argument being made for that. The chip wars are a hot topic at the moment anyway. A lot of people thinking about them
Yeah,
and
they
where
are.
their chips actually coming from. A lot of people also thinking, oh, I should have bought Nvidia, but that's another story for another time and also not
Yeah.
financial advice.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All good fun.
So let's talk about some more cool stuff. What are you hyped about now? What are some breakthroughs? What are some people that are worth following? What's exciting right now in the London scene?
In London, I think the startup scene is really kicking up. Investors are really interested in funding things, and a bunch of people are building some really cool stuff. Whether that is like a chat interface, still like making like seeing what that is going to be in the next like generation of AI apps. So there's one that we demoed at AI Demo Days, which is Harley. They're working with Asda and people like that to do very fast chat over all of their data. Their data's in like Snowflake and stuff. Like they have these huge data stores and they've worked out how to pre-compute a bunch of stuff and they make that super, super fast. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can have your objective being like, which are my most underperforming stores, which categories are most underperforming. And they can look at these things in almost real time. And that I think is nuts. So yeah, the innovation in London is crazy. I'd like to see some more lubrication of the deal flow, making it easier for startups to get investment. There's a lot of chat in Europe about how a European company structure could happen. And I really think if that does happen, the UK should get involved in that because that would open up like a bunch of funding opportunities for UK to invest abroad, but also for foreign investors to invest in UK startups easier. But in terms of London, like the tech scene is insane. It's crazy. There's loads going on. Startups are like revolving doors. I think some of the cool stuff that people are building, this isn't like startup specific because I haven't seen it so much, but I was chatting with a guy at Google and web AI is nuts. This is going to become a crazy thing, like actually running LLMs in the browser, running small, like 4 GB, 3 GB models in the browser to do tasks on the browser side. So I heard some companies are already doing that in a more of a hacky way. So they can show what images are showed to you depending on what you've liked and what you've seen, but all done on your own browser. So they reduce a lot of compute costs because of it. And that's really cool. Basically, LLMs are really good at understanding, decoding, and encoding base64. Obviously, we can use a decoder in the browser, but there's loads of other opportunities for LLMs actually in the browser, like suggesting things, like working out what you want and showing you different pages, even like generative UIs has been a big thing last couple of months, really. We've been talking about it for a while, but some of the demos that have come out last couple of months are real mind blowing. Web AI is going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool. Like classifiers in the browser, just like you go onto your website and then suddenly there's a bunch of stuff that wasn't pre-computed that now is computed and it knows about you. And you can go down a different like pathway through a site. I think you can get really esoteric about it. I think it's cool.
You keep saying web AI, but what is it? Is it some kind of set of APIs that will be common and you can plug different
Yeah,
LLMs to basically run in your Chrome?
exactly. So Chrome API standards, they're going to bring out something by the end of the year. It essentially means that like any website will be able to use your locally downloaded LLM if it exists. And they'll be able to offload a lot of that to your private LLMs in your browser. And so this opens up loads of stuff to do with browsing agents as well, things like that,
Yeah.
where my website can now influence an agent to browse through its own site. But that agent is local to your browser. Some people get real stoked about massive models. I'm like well stoked about the little ones. There's two ways you can see the latest like Apple Intelligence thing. The way I see it is that big companies are trusting users with their models. Like the models are going to be on device. I think that opens up way more opportunities than it maybe scares people about. But that's my viewpoint.
Yeah. Apple was under a lot of pressure to enter the AI game, right? So I think it made a lot of sense for them to just do something, I don't want to say quick and dirty, but quick and get
Yeah.
like the first step with the OpenAI integration. But
Literally.
from what I'm seeing, I think we're going to see quite quickly the hardware evolve to basically handle reasonably capable models locally. And then they're going to be like, oh, privacy. Look, we first took away your privacy and now we're giving it back to you. Buy the new iPhone.
Have you seen the Apple Compute Cloud thing, the Apple private cloud? I don't know what they call it exactly, but it is nuts. Like the certifications they've got on that, it's like the Apple SREs can't even see your data. There's a bunch of stuff that they have, which is like all of their images are open source. I think they've gone as far as you can go for them to be like, yeah, they do care a little bit about your data. They at least care enough to like they've had a team thinking about how they're going to play it, rather than a lot of other companies that it's much more of an afterthought.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, but the recall, like, come on, I'll just have a little rant now. But who names a product recall, man? Come on.
Oh,
Have you seen
total
that?
recall. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that recall. That is ridiculous. Like,
Well,
you're asking for memes at that point.
they are, but I think calling a line of computers Copilot Plus, is that what they call them? Is arguably even worse. Oh, you thought you were confused? Let us
Yeah.
confuse you more.
Oh,
It's
that is
almost-
actually really confusing. Is that
Yeah.
why Cursor is now called Copilot Plus Plus? We're going to be back in like the mid 2000s where my brother had an iPod Touch. Like the first games, they'd be like the freemium games, and you download it, it'd be like the light version, and then you could upgrade to the Pro version or the Pro Plus or the Pro Plus Ultra. And it's like, how many more of these words can they put on the end and try and charge you more money?
Exactly. Ultra
Yeah.
Pro Max
Ultra Pro
Plus.
Plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
naming is hard. If you're Google, on the other hand, you're just gonna rename the product and rebrand it every couple of years and then shut it down when people start to like it.
Exactly.
There's also...
Or sell it to Squarespace. Like, I was actually so annoying. I had loads of Google domains, and now they're all owned by Squarespace.
Yeah, it was funny. I was about to move the rest of my stuff there because the interface is nicer and I like the flat prices that didn't end with random numbers at the end. But oh, that happened.
Yeah.
let's
I
move
wonder,
on.
what's going on with them sometimes. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. Big tech have weird ways of doing things. I feel like a
They,
lot of it you just don't understand unless you were at that table when someone decided something. You like, no one has all this information about what's going on.
yeah. Way too much information. Hopefully there will be like an LLM that can handle that at some point. They'll be like Google decision
Yeah,
tree LLM.
yeah. I guess like from a technical point of view, I think the stuff that is really cool is it's gonna sound real lame, but like logging and evaluation for LLM apps. Like the amount of people building really cool, like all-in-one platforms where you like push like a fast API server or like push a bunch of TypeScript code and it runs it, it instruments the logging, it instruments like a bunch of evaluations that you can run like end to end on your application. I feel like these getting super technical, that is really cool. Essentially, we're going to see like the Vercel of LLM apps sometime soon. I'm really excited. That might even be Vercel, but I'm really excited about which company's going to step up and make that all-in-one platform.
Yeah. All right, so before we move out of London and we move on to some other interesting people to follow, you mentioned a few times that things are getting better in London and it's easier to get funding. How do people get funded in London? What's the YC equivalent for London?
I'm really not the best person to talk about this. Find a founder that's raised money and ask. But it's like entrepreneurs first. I've heard really good things. I've got a few friends that have been there. There's a bunch of like tech stars as well. I don't know that if I was started listing, that would be ridiculous. But yeah, have a look at Incubator, find some friends, go to a demo day, go meet some VCs. If your idea is good and you can sell it, you'll get some money. I think is the general vibe. What my CTO seems to sound like anyway. So yeah, we got money. That was how it worked.
All right, anybody else outside of London that you're following that you think is building really cool stuff at the moment?
I got a bit into Twitter recently, or X, sorry. I think that is cool because you get exposed to like way more people. Definitely a bit of a time sink though. I don't know. Do you spend much time on Twitter?
A little bit. I'm mainly consuming information. There is a few people I follow on X, but it's not necessarily somewhere I would write a lot of stuff at the moment.
Yeah, consuming stuff is super cool though. I guess people I like on there, the guy that made the instructor library. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's like structured outputs for LLMs. Everything just returns JSON or like a pedantic object. He's called Jason Liu. He has some really good, it's like you might call them hot takes, but also he's he's a consultant now, so he's constantly building stuff for loads of different companies and he shares a bunch of it. And I think it's like a nice, approachable way to do consultancy. I've seen a bunch of consultants that don't do it that way, but he seems to be like a community favorite rather than a community leech. I like him, even though he's in consultancy. Yeah, Jason Liu. There's a bunch of guys. There's someone who I don't know if you heard of Dingboard. It's like the meme making in browser application, like web. I think it's WebGL. It's well cool. There's a guy, I don't know his actual name. He's like Cash MTB on X, but yeah, I think he's gone to work for X now, and he posts the most outrageous memes a million times a day. I don't know how he has the time for everything. Oh, actually, in London, I would be really bad to miss the people at TL Draw. If you've heard of TL Draw, the Infinite Canvas. Have you seen that? You
No.
should real go look at their demos on X. Lou from TL Draw, they're insane. And they do a bunch of other random stuff as well that's like actually mind-blowing. I think they have their own programming language, do a bunch of stuff with sounds. Like, I saw a demo, like absolutely crazy demo where you like moved circles on a screen, it made different noises and you could connect them together. All like infinite canvas stuff. I love infinite canvas apps. I hate front end, but I love messing around with someone who's made a really good infinite canvas app. It's so cool. And TL Draw, they have anyone who makes an infinite canvas builds it on top of TL Draw.
All right, there's probably one more company that you might want to mention. They might be paying your bills. What's StackOne?
Yeah.
They should be cool, right?
Yeah, I'm an AI engineer at StackOne. StackOne, we're a unified API we started in HR tech, and essentially, if you want to build something on top of an HR software, instead of integrating with 100 different HR softwares and dealing with a Workday API that's in SOAP and it's like all XML and super hard to get access, you just integrate with us. And we have almost 100 connectors now. So but you can integrate with a whole product category at once, like CRMs, ATSs if you're into like recruitment stuff. Yeah, it's a really cool integration platform, and it is super cool. Essentially, what I do as an AI engineer, because people do ask me this: what are you building an integration platform? Why do they need an AI engineer? What I do is how our platform works is very quickly under the hood. Is we the main secret sauce is like this engine we've built that takes these JSON mapping templates and works out which APIs to call to return like a unified object. A lot of words there, but essentially, if I request animals from an API and that API has cats and dogs, then I'm going to have to grab both cats and dogs to return it as animals. But maybe they also have like insects as well, and I have to remove insects. And so we have this mapping template that describes like a bunch of stuff, like how you get all the data from all different APIs, and whether you need to filter it, whether you need to remove stuff, like what query string parameters you can add, how to do pagination. It's really bloody hard. No one has a consistent way of doing it. Everyone's different. So we built like a unified way of doing pagination. And these mapping templates, they're all in JSON. And LLMs are pretty good at generating JSON. So that's what I'm working on. Feeding enough context into an LLM that we can actually generate these mapping templates. And at the very least, to make it a lot faster to build these integrations. And at the very best, like completely automate it.
So
We're
you
somewhere
just
in the middle.
feed them like the docs from Workday, and it spits out the right JSON for you.
Pretty much. There's a whole pipeline, but yeah, feed it the docs, feed it the OpenAPI spec is also very useful. Feed it a bunch of other context that maybe you know about Workday or like some of the capabilities of our platform. You'd have to feed it as well. So the fact it's XML means you have to do some different parsing. So how to instrument that. And yeah, all this should be done programmatically. And then yeah, jobs are good, and hopefully it spits out some decent JSON and your customers are very happy that everything's mapped correctly and you haven't mapped like first name to last name or something silly.
Well, you can probably display the meme that says X but with AI on a VC presentation, but it sounds like it's actually a decent use case. Your coworkers probably hate you because you're gonna automate their jobs away, but hey, such is life.
It's a serious like concern. People do get stressy about that. And you're not the first person that's asked that question. Doesn't everyone just get really aggy? It's the opposite, because if what I can do works, then we don't have to hire as many people. We can make like the team much leaner, and we can keep a leaner team, but just have much faster growth. And so it actually benefits everyone who's at our company. It doesn't benefit anyone we would hire in future if we don't make it work. But everyone at our company currently, it really benefits if I can make this work, because we just build stuff faster. We can service more customers. I'm actually automating all of the really annoying bits. There's always these little quirks that are very annoying, like a bunch of copy and pasting you have to do. And so automating that to start with, like those quick wins, that is real helpful. And people love that.
Yeah. Twitter, X, like you said, it's mostly about quick takes. If you're not saying something controversial or at least a little bit mean, you probably nobody's going to find you. But if you are, it might blow up. So I was just, as you were saying that, thinking what an LLM that translates what people say into like tweet format would be. It would be probably like $1 billion solopreneurs, unicorn solopreneurs coming soon.
Go a bit of a Twitter, like an X, like X Tech Twitter. Well, Tech Twitter is like a very strange community. And there are different sides of it. This is what I didn't realize. My old flatmate who works in fintech, and he sees a bunch of fintech memes. That's all he sees, really. I used to do a bunch of stuff with like serverless migrations and big tech and big data almost. And I used to just get all of the AWS people and the GCP people, the proper advocates for their platform. And now I'm in startups. I just get a bunch of people with like anime profile pictures, just chatting absolute ass. What is going on? We've completely changed the dynamic of my Twitter just by what I'm engaging in at the moment. But I think this is the most fun side of Twitter that I've seen. The side that's brought me back is like the anime profile pictures, people building crazy models with data sets they scraped from Urban Outfitters. It's so random.
That's basically their business model, right? Getting you involved. I don't know. Some people go to Facebook to get upset about their friends from high school. You go on Twitter to hear some outrageous takes on tech. And I guess you go to LinkedIn to look professional. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. But yeah,
Well,
LinkedIn, I used to be real into LinkedIn, but I really only post like events and stuff, which I don't post on Twitter. Like, it's weird how you feel like a vibe of one platform fits something compared to the vibe of another platform. And it's like scheduled posts about events and who's speaking and where people can sign up. And Twitter, it's, oh my God, I hate Python this morning.
yeah, I can also see it on how people do their profile pics. Like you said, on Twitter is going to be anime, and then the same person is going to have a tie or entire
Yeah.
suit and everything.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
The anime profile pic that says like CS at Stanford on Twitter is on LinkedIn. It's 2 times exited founder with an MBA from Stanford. It's like the same person. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah. What's driving me nuts now is that I have on my LinkedIn is people doing handwritten or pretend handwritten notes that have no business being handwritten because we can see they were not handwritten, but at least like a notebook background or something like that. And my top list of lessons from my VC journey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually just block people's content when it's like that. You can actually curate quite a fun LinkedIn experience, but you really do have to be brutal. Every company is getting blocked. It's so difficult. I've just given up on that. Twitter's just more fun, more casual.
All right. So that's a perfect note to wrap things up for anybody who wants to go and check out some of the things that Matt is doing.
Demodays.ai.
Days.ai. So I'll
Demodays.ai.
be hanging out next month. AI Tinkerers. Where else do you hang out?
Yeah, AI Tinkers, I just come along, but very much in a chill capacity, come grab a beer and stuff. Guess where else? I am on X at Matt Z Carey. Carey spelled like Mariah. I'm also on LinkedIn, the same handle. Yeah, if you got any questions or you want to get started building some stuff or you're building something, but you want a hand or you think StackOne could be useful, just pop me a message. Like, I actually real love meeting people in community and like building cool stuff. So what keeps me building cool stuff is seeing other people building cool stuff. It's really important.
And for anybody who wants to bring their own demo to you, what's the process? How do they apply?
Oh, they just send me an email. It's like matt@stackone.com. Super straightforward. Yeah, just send me an email. Tell me what you want to demo. Yeah, we'll get you scheduled in if we think it fits. The main requirements for demo is like 15 minutes. There's some like wacky script on there, but it's no bullshit. Nothing you can't back up. 2 minutes about what the problem is, and then the rest of it should be technical. If you have to look at code, code's okay. But really technical as in I actually want to see your product. And ideally you talk over it about how it works. But yeah, 15 minutes, that's all you got. Make it count.
Still live demos only?
Only live. So you got to be there in London. You got to see, everyone's got to see you, be able to come up afterwards and ask how you did something. You don't have to answer them, but that's how it has to be. I feel like you get the most engagement there. People will real love it. And the 15 minutes is nowhere near long enough to cover anything useful, but it's a taste, right? It's like a taste of what's happening but when you're working every day. What are you building? Just show us just that little bit, and then people can come afterwards and find you. And if they want to dig into the detail, you can hash it out with them.
Yeah, it's a tease, a sneak peek.
So demodays.ai, there's like a link to the next event. The link for the 11th one's not up, but it will be up pretty soon. But this might be out after that one is being published. Otherwise, we have one in September, the beginning of September. I don't know the exact date yet. But yeah, if you go to demodays.ai, there should be a link. If not, it's also on Luma. It's like the event platform we use.
Mm.
You can search for the calendar by Demo Days.
And how many attendees typically?
It's really restricted because all of our venues are about 60 people. So the last one we pumped 70 people in there, but yeah, can't go too much more on that. So yeah, if you want to come, sign up early, tell me a good reason why you want to come, and love to see you there.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, Matt. See you next time.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.